Hello, welcome. Thank you for joining me today. I want to do a reading and a talk to commune after all of this solar energy, that powerful solar energy that we had come in from that X flare leading to proton storm and geomagnetic storming and all this for like 3 solid days. But what's interesting is a lot of us were feeling it before it came. So that last reading was all about that like clearing out and that emptying out that a lot of us were doing in our homes and in our cells and just quieting down. And I was saying how I felt like we were like holding vigil or preparing for something to come. And of course, the solar activity isn't necessarily what was coming, but it's part of what's coming because it's part of that rearranging and that activating and that up leveling. And so a lot of us were really guided to take space and to open up space, whether we wanted to or not, finding our lives providing us with that opportunity to do that, clearing out. And then receiving all of this activating energy, transforming energy, purifying energy, activating energy through the solar influx that we received through that CME and from that huge proton radiation blast that came initially, right, as that X flare came. And so personally, I felt the X flare, I had this, because X flares and the high M flares, so we had the X flare X1 1.95, so almost X2, and then the M8 flare right after that. And so what I've experienced and learned is that the X flare and the high M's chunk off things. So if we're in sort of like a simmer, it's like that's when it boils and something goes. And so I was feeling that the night before. My soul sister and I were communing, and her and I get into this space where we just start decoding. We start seeing the patterns, and then our individual channels will open up and we'll start receiving the same information and ping-ponging back and forth. So we were doing that in a way where I felt like everything that had been sort of, I want to say swarming around, because I know for a lot of us, we've been talking about those divine triggers, those divine catalysts where I just felt like everywhere I looked, there was some sort of crunch that was giving me the opportunity to choose myself and to love myself. And so and I know a lot of you were relating to that as well. And so in that last reading, we had the Emperor followed by the High Priestess. That's how we closed the reading. And so we were talking a lot about that, like the yin energy and the yang energy and following the flow and honoring both, and just having that rebalancing and that integration of our polarities come in, no matter what that looks like. I was also sharing some stories around my dad and things that were sort of very unusual for our relationship over 50 years, and now things really changing. Well, since then, in the last week, I've heard 6 or 7 different people share stories of either, a connection, some people with their dads being deceased and having a connection through the veils with them in a really healing way. Other people like me just having like interesting conversations or situations with their dad where it was like obvious that there were spirit weavings going on, and then other people doing huge clearing and realizations around their dad. So it was just like uncanny, when you see these patterns and you start to see the synchronicities. Now, all of these people were women. I haven't really talked to any men. So I am curious if with the opposite polarity, if you're incarnated in a male body, have you been having clearings or connections if your mother is deceased, or different kind of relationships if she's not, different kind of communications with your mom? And so I'm really curious, and I would love to hear if you just feel like sharing, even if it's just a one word yes, or like you can private message if you don't feel like sharing publicly. But and so this reminds me of my friend and I that I was talking about the other day. She was like, or the other week or whatever, she's like, we're like Scooby-Doo, because we're always tracking the patterns and noticing things and putting them together. So I'm being a detective here, so I'm curious how it's presenting for the men of us in this realm. Or is it focused on our inner masculine? Because I know for me, even like what I was talking about with those divine triggers where, you might be triggered back into an old pattern of like not enough or doing it wrong or whatever your pattern from your childhood is, and being given the opportunity to stand with yourself and to be like, well, that person might not understand you or like you, but I like you and I understand you and I'm here for you. And I think of that as a very masculine energy, the container that holds space for our inner oracle or our inner priestess, whether we're a man or a woman. So perhaps if you are a man, you're having changes in your relationship with your father, with your inner masculine as well. Seems like there's a huge focus on it. That's probably what it is, actually, because the energy very much is about the holding of the container for our soul, for our guidance, for our inner oracle, and taking action on that, like we're always talking about. But it just seems really, really, really up right now, this rebalancing. I was just blown away by how many people. There were some people that were writing, I think, in relation to the reading that I did, unless it was a really huge synchronicity. And then other people that were just sharing where it was like, oh my gosh, there's the dad again. Also, another friend that I was talking to, it's her partner who's going through really huge changes and shifts, kind of like mind blowing, where you're like, whoa, been waiting for this for 30 years. And now it's effortlessly happening. Similar to my son and to my ex-husband, just things a lot with the masculine, but also within ourselves, again, being able to hold space for ourselves in ways that we weren't able to before. So really interesting. And that going on a lot during that solar influx, where it's almost like whatever patterns of distortion we've been holding within ourselves, or our partners or whatever have been holding it, it's like they're just unraveling. I'm seeing a lot of that with addictions, where people are just either feeling like it's just falling away, where they just don't want to engage in those substances anymore, or they have decided, or it feels right to take a break or to get help or to get therapy or whatever it is around the addictions. Because again, it's like when things come into alignment, things that are out of alignment are just not feeling right anymore. And I think we've been hearing this, I've heard this, or it makes sense, that at a certain point, and same thing with our health issues, as we come into alignment with our divinity and our higher frequency, our bodies reconfigure, the parts of ourselves that were turning on ourselves, or those looping patterns that were creating disturbances and distortions and leaking of energy in our field. When they're coming into right alignment within our own natural divinity and natural energetic signature, our bodies reconfigure. And so I talk about this and seeing this in energy work as well. When the energy clears, the polarities will rebalance, and then higher aspects of ourselves are expanded, broader, more of ourself starts to come in and integrate, because there's room for it and it's able to. This type of thing. Same thing in our lives right now, just with these energies. It's like the solar energies, the dominant frequency in this realm is like one big energy session. We're inundated and we're immersed and we're held in higher frequency. And so those of us that are attuned to that, who have been striving towards that, or secretly living that way for all of our lives, are starting to feel really comfortable here, because the outer energetics are matching our inner energetics, right? And allowing that to come out more and more. So more people stepping into their true expression and their true selves. And then that changing the reaction from others, because they're putting out something that's more true rather than a pretzeled version. So attracting in that Queen of Wands energy, attracting in things that match you. So there's this whole like rippling shift going on, seeing it in the world. In ways that might be kind of coyote medicine as well, where it doesn't really look like it's going into a realignment, but it is, because it's like it's impossible for it not to, with the frequency of this planet and getting chills, and the energy coming in through our sun and through our galaxy through the sun, from our galaxy through the sun and into our waters and into our cells and into us, into our minds, into our consciousness. There's a whole correction and realignment and reconfiguration into proper alignment going on. Okay, so I am going to jump into the cards now and see what else wants to come through. Now that we're integrating this huge solar passage that we just went through, this huge realignment, reconfiguration, what wants to be said right now around all of this? Let's see what this is. Rhino spirit, overcome any obstacle. That is the energy that I'm feeling, where it comes to the addictions, or where it comes to distortions or patterns of darkness, because of the unintegrated shadow aspects of ourselves that we've had separated off, that then create a life of their own over here, this type of stuff. It's like things are unraveling. There's an ironing out simply because of this energy that we're in right now. Also, this is a number 5 card, indicating huge change. So we're in the midst of a huge shift right now. And I think a lot of us feel that. kind of mind-blowing. Again, I just flashed on a lot of us that have been clearing out our house, just the empty space that we're feeling in our homes and in our bodies. There's a lot of open space. A lot has been cleared out. There's a lot of circuitry running in a natural, organic way, which is allowing things to move very quickly. Again, when there's lots of clogs, the change is focused on clearing the clogs. So you're attracting in things that are going to catalyze you or crunch you, or it might seem like one misery after another, which is what's going on in the world, right? It seems like one misery after another, but it's really the manifestation of the unprocessed shadow and the clogs and the projections and the blaming that the majority of humanity has been doing, that's being corrected in all this light, because the light is starting to come in and dominate. And yet when there's a clear channel and those distortions are starting to move out, then the change can happen faster. And rather than it being focused so much on the crunches to get you to clear and purge, it's like there can just be inspiration. So that was coming up in the last reading as well. Bring your ideas to life. There's just inspiration and flow. And so something that's been coming forward for me, again, effortlessly, because there's this flow, right? The obstacles are being removed. So I used to do this a long time ago. I've started doing it again. And I've mentioned this before, just saying in the morning, I welcome magic, and I can't wait to see how it comes to me in my day. And so now I'm adding this perspective, like lining up the energy in this way where it's like, I welcome the most optimal timeline to unfold in this day. So it's like I feel into like the realm here, and you can feel into the linear, you can feel into the karmic looping, you can feel into the conditioning, and that's all here, like I feel it like right here. And then you feel into the quantum space that's beyond time and space, which feels to me like up here, right? So it's just like shifting like your focus literally on the energy. And so then I just welcome that in, where it's like beyond time and space and all the trapping systems and all this. Where is the back door? Where are those perfectly timed synchronicities? Where bring to me the exact right person at the right time, the exact thought at the exact right time, or the right conversation, or the right contrast, or whatever, and just almost like a door that you just like open and you say, okay, I choose this one, I choose this one, and you let that one lie, you let that one lie. So then you're welcoming in magic and the highest possible potential, that quantum expression in your life, and into the world. You're opening that door for your life, and therefore into the world in service. Okay, so that's and that's really possible right now too, because again, the energy's really lined up. It's really in service right now, and a lot of us are in a really clear space to be able to do that. Even if your intention is, even if what you're working on, whatever it is that you're feeling you need, like where you need to clear certain areas in your life, or certain patterns that you have that you don't know how you're going to get out of because they're so entrenched, and you just unconsciously go into them, just sort of opening that door to bring to you the exact right conversation, video, opportunity, person, realization, experience to help support you in that, right? And just always going to that door. Okay, so that's something that feels really, really good that I've been doing. So if that resonates for you, just sharing that. Okay, let's see. Let's move into the tarot here. Ooh, wow, the Tower. Oh my God, it's so exciting. We haven't gotten this in a while. I always love it when I see the Tower. I know some people get scared when I see the Tower, but for me, it's like, bring it all down. I mean, look at this. Like, what does this say? Overcome any obstacle, change. And then the Tower, is basically like change. It's like whatever is false can no longer stand, and it's crumbling. So of course that means on the other side of that, are the miracles, the higher expressions, the magical experiences with people in your lives that you just felt, again, it was completely 3D, like regurgitating karma. And then all of a sudden you're in this room with them, you're in this room because that's what becomes possible when the false falls. Because when the false falls, it's not taking up the field and creating pretzels where all you're doing is slowly unraveling. When we have energy like this that comes in and just tsunami sweeps it away, even if it's really really harsh, or even if it's really painful, or if you're looking out at the world and, oh, it's causing you pain and it's causing people pain, fucking good. Because, and I'm sorry, I'm going to probably piss some people off, but it's like when you're this thick in distortion, it takes some tower moments to crumble that down, to wake people up, to clear the playing board, and again, trusting the soul journey, trusting all the souls involved and the role that they chose to play at this point in the shift in consciousness for humanity and evolution, and all of the entrenched obstacles that we're overcoming and plowing through. Sometimes it takes a rhino, a rhino of a solar storm, or a rhino of a personality, the dark catalyst. Have you ever had a dark catalyst that absolutely ruined you and destroyed you? I did, but guess what? I got completely cleared out from that and everything that came from that. And so that being true on the world scale as well, the towers, the false needs to come down. And sometimes it needs to come down in ways like I remember, I lost custody of my kids on December 21st, 2012. And I thought for sure, it's the shift, it's the beginning of the shift. Everything was going to align the way that it needed to. And of course, my kids weren't going to go and be neglected and mind fucked and spiritually abused for, their entire childhood, but that's what happened, and that's what needed to happen. That's what needed to happen to crack open my heart, to bring me to my knees, to awaken me to that rose lineage and that mission that I'm on, and to be able to see behind the scenes. And it's like sometimes it has to come in a really, really harsh way to crack us open in just the right ways, so that we remember what's real. Again, we're not moving around on this track, right? Moving around pieces here, and oh no, and leaking all our energy when we can go through this window right here, and quantum blast the whole thing. So there's that energy of the quantum blast, and trusting the way it comes through as you're aligning and praying for that optimal outcome. It might invite in some tragedy. It might invite in some loss or some change, but it's what's going to take you through and out the other side. I love how this rhino has all these flowers. It's like coming through a portal of flowers right into your blooming. We have to say yes to the demolition. This is the demolition team right here. This is the demolition team, and we have to say yes to it, because it's, again, when you're that entrenched in distortion and darkness like we are right now. We're coming out of Kali Yuga, so we're coming out of the darkness. Now, this is sort of a message for the people that are maybe resisting or viewing things in a negative way. I know a lot of us have been having personal tower moments like this, like I just indicated with my life, for a long time, and have understood and understood the point of darkness and the point of demolition and the point of chaos and personal catastrophe, right? And how it benefits us and how it is at times necessary, right? And so if you're one of those people, then then let's see what this next card is. Let's see. I feel like it's going into another point here for those of you that have had those crash and burns for a long time. The Four of Pentacles. Interesting. The Four of Pentacles. So this is like pulling back your energy to yourself, and just like the boundaries, and protecting your container. So there's that masculine energy again, where it's like, I got you, and like a protection, right? So, okay, yeah, that makes sense. So while the world around you might be crumbling, and the people around you might be really strongly reacting to that, and there's a lot in the collective energy that's just really amped up right now, right? Okay, so that's what I was feeling. I'm like, what's that message for those of you that understand the point of the crumble? It's like, just protect your energy, and I think a lot of us have been doing that. Again, I was talking about that in the last reading and in the beginning of this reading, pulling back your energy, tending to your home, your physical home, like a lot of us reorganizing and making things more efficient and getting rid of things and bringing in things that make more sense and whatever. I did that all last week as well. And also with our physical bodies as well, having deeper self-care practices, and also with where we're lending our energy to, where we're giving it. So having that boundary, you know, are we leaking our energy? Are we paying attention to things that are upsetting us and upsetting our nervous system, you know, or are we, you know, this type of thing, right? And taking the care that we need. Like the other day, I was really riding high on the, like ever since before that X flare came in, and then when it came in, and all during the proton storm, and then we had like solar winds up to 1,000, and normally the solar winds will, I always mention this, but the neck and the spine and the sinuses and the head, and then my vision gets weird and my eyes get tired, and we were up at 1,000, and I was just like, you know, walking on sunshine. I was just, wow, so much clarity. And then all of a sudden, I think it was yesterday. Was it yesterday? What was yesterday? Yesterday was Wednesday. It was Tuesday. It hit me. You know, it was like the field and my cells, everything got inundated to the point where I was like, oh my God. And I had a couple errands I had to do in the morning. And then I just went home and got into bed at like 4 o'clock and just stayed there pretty much all night long. I just got completely flattened. And then the next stuff and all that started after that. And you know, and then we continued in the energy for another day. And now it's, you know, it's dying off, it's calming down, it's pretty much calm now. I think the solar winds are maybe a little bit elevated, but no big deal. And so anyway, but just being called into bed when you're called into bed, because there's a part of me that was just like, oh, you know, I really want to like do this other thing in the house because I'm still in this cleaning, organizing thing. But yeah, just laying down and just listening. So there's that yin and that yang energy again. Like when you're called in, when you're called to really just nurture yourself, then be that let your inner masculine support you in that, rather than like, well, you should be doing this and you could push through this and you're not very tired, and you know, maybe you should just work out, you know, you'll get more energy. Yeah, just supporting whatever it is. So anyway, a big message of that, honoring yourself, especially if you are an empath and you are a front runner and you are on the cutting edge of these energies. You can really feel a lot, and it can be really overwhelming because, again, you know, the psychic sponge, and you're feeling the solar energies, and they're taking you on that roller coaster ride, and just accepting that you have different requirements for self-care than other people, and that you caring for yourself is actually caring for everyone. And it's in some ways, in a lot of ways, it's the best way to care for humanity, because as an empath, you're feeling things that other people aren't allowing themselves to feel. So that's your job, to just feel that thing, to just process that emotion, or to allow yourself to rest when maybe nobody else is, right? To do your job, to do your role, and to honor yourself and your nervous system, and all of the gifts and benefits and handicaps that come with being wired the way you're wired, just honoring yourself. All right, let's see what this is. The Seven of Cups. Okay, so let me pull one more. I think I know what that's saying, but let me just clarify that. Because the Seven of and the Page of Swords. Oh, interesting. Page of Swords. So the Seven of Cups is an energy of choice, you know, like which one do I choose, you know? So there's, oh yeah, this actually reminds me of, because the Page of Swords is like, oh, I didn't think of that way. Or it's like, you know, a light bulb goes off, or like, I'm going to do things differently. So it reminds me of what I was talking about with like this stream and this stream, right? So you're like, you know, you're on this stream, and then all of a sudden you're like, wait, you know, so, Page of Swords, like I could do this in a completely different way. Like I don't. So there's that choice, you know, where you're looking at all your different options, and here's like, oh, here's rote response number one. Here's rote response, you know, from mom. Here's rote response from dad. Here's rote response that the rest of society is doing. Here are your options in this train here, you know, and then you're like, but wait a minute, you know, this one here is, wow, you know, this one has a completely different energy to it. This one feels expansive. This one feels limitless. This one feels like it has wings, you know, so I'm going to choose this one. And so it's like you're slipping through that other door. So again, a real message, whether you're kind of caught up in this energy in a sort of resistance reactionary way, or you're riding it, you're throwing gasoline on that fire, right? Throwing gasoline on that fire, let it burn. You're still, especially if you're doing that, it's because you're tuned into this quantum space where you're seeing things, you're calling forth that highest outcome and trusting that everything that's happening is for that. Because again, remember, we create an experience from our focus and our beliefs. So if we're choosing to focus on, anything over here, then we're going to see and feel and get more of that. We're going to have more tension in our body. We're going to block ourselves from this higher quantum space. And we're just going to keep recreating the old that we're so upset about. We're going to keep recreating it because we're going to be on the same vibrational frequency of it. But if we jump through that window, we focus our sights, we aim our arrow through that window, we're going to start to create and manifest through there again in our own lives and for humanity. So the greatest service, a lot of people, it's funny because Facebook is such an oracle for me. Like I notice things that I usually just regurgitate posts that I've had from years prior, and because I'm trying not to be on there too much, but I do like to share inspiration and anchor energy. A lot of what I do on Facebook is to anchor energy, and I notice that there will be certain themes over the years, like the exact time. Like this year, for example, will be the same thing the year before, right? Like I had a thing with ravens where I was seeing a lot of ravens, and then it had looked, this year, having trouble with my words. This time last year, I had a big raven dream, right? So seeing patterns, right? So now the pattern is around selfishness, so I was posting a lot about selfishness every year, right around like this time, the last couple days. And so I was just about to bring it up again. A lot of people think it's really selfish to pull back your energy and to take care of yourself and to focus on things that bring you joy and that bring you into your alignment with your divinity, because they think it's selfish when the world is on fire because, you should be doing something about that. And it's like, that doesn't work. You're just cycling in the same energy, unless you're guided, right? Unless you're guided, but you can't be guided from your soul. Generally if you're not taking the time for your soul or to tune in or to do things that get you in that connection where you can hear, then you're running off a fear response, right? And victim and lack and limitation and oh no, and now I'm going to be a savior, and it's just old energy, right? So the selfishness, it's not selfish to come into yourself and to get back into your juicy energy, because then you're going to be able to hear from that quantum space, from your higher mind, from that higher space, the new ideas, the not playing out the old at the same level of consciousness, but the new, and then taking action on that. It's not to say like, oh, we're not doing anything, but taking care of ourselves and we're ignoring the world and, just have our head in the sands. No, we're just making sure that we're taking time to receive guidance that's actually coming from our divinity and from our soul and from our mission, and not from the program, not from a mind control, not from a mind spell of the lower karmic looping energy over and over and over again. And so, so just choosing that other doorway would be an analogy. It reminds me of a dream. I've told this dream before. Wow, it's just so perfect. I'm going to tell it again because there's always new people watching. So I had a lot of looping, a lot of this stuff with my ex-husband, and it was just a lot of hatred and a lot of fighting and a lot of court dates and a lot of, and it was felt really justified. It's like, well, how can I not, be angry about this? And it's like, look at what you're doing, and really hard, right? But I had this dream and I kept getting the message of like, well, just play your ukulele and go to the river and enjoy yourself. And it's like, how can I possibly enjoy myself? I have to, obsessively focus on this. And I had this dream. So I have I cleared it recently, just in the last few months. I had this dream of this haunted house. And recently I went into the haunted house. I was going to buy it, and I saw through it. I saw through it, and I saw the crumbling foundation, and I was just like, oh no. And I left, and I told the broker, no, I'm not buying this house. And I haven't had the dream since. I've been resolving a lot of reoccurring dreams in the last year. A lot. And so anyway, this was back years ago, and I was in the haunted house, and it used to be, there was like this one room, and I couldn't even go in the room, and oh my gosh, so scary. Well, I was sleeping in the room. So I was moving farther along with this part of my subconscious. I was sleeping in the room, and there was this snake that kept biting my foot, and it was like a demon type of energy, demonic type of energy, and it kept biting my foot like a psychic attack. And I was like, I can't sleep in here. I can't sleep in here, and I shouldn't sleep in here. But I saw that there was this room. Now, my analogy of the room was over here. In my dream, it was over here, but I'm going to put it over here because it matches the symbolism of what I'm doing in this reading. There was this room over here, and the door was open, and there was light coming out of it. And I just went into that room. I just left this room. I left the reoccurring snake bites and the cycling and the can't sleep and the anxiety and I went into this room with the light, and inside of that room was my ex. And there was a 12-year period where we didn't talk to each other except through lawyers. And I didn't talk to him because I completely lost myself in that relationship. It was very cult-like. There was a lot of God complex type stuff going on. And I got really, really, really confused and really lost. So I needed to take that space away from him because I had so many neural pathways of losing myself and getting confused and cognitive dissonance and gaslighting myself and stuff like that. And I didn't want that to happen. So I had to do it that way. But I was really afraid of him because of that. I was afraid of him because I hadn't built up my own self-care container, knowing who I was and where I was and this type of thing. And so anyway, so he was in that room and I wasn't afraid of him. I felt like he was a friend, which is interesting because now he is a friend. You know, it's like whatever aspects of his personality or being that might still be in distortion don't come out with me because I have my container, and I've gone the whole way through with this and this, where, you know, I came home to my divinity. So I'm not a match to that anymore. But I wasn't at that point in that dream. And so I saw the future really because he was like a friend and he was just sitting there, and I wanted to like get out and run, but I was like, well, if I get out and run, I go back to the snake. So I sat down with him and I was just filled with light and love, and I woke up and it was like a healing for me. And so that very much feels like the energy of what I'm talking about with this. If you're in resistance to this energy and you're kind of like on this track with it, to allow yourself to go through that other door where there's just huge healing and there's huge transformation, quantum jumping out of patterns, and healing for your body and healing for your life, because you're going to be hearing the guidance that's going to shift you onto a different trajectory, attracting in different things. Okay, it's interesting that this message is coming up. Yeah, it's interesting that it is. It feels important. Yeah. Okay, so let's see. I'm going to do an oracle here for the last card in this row. What do we get? Oh, wow. The ghost dance. So the ghost dance, this is interesting. It is a number 22, 22 being a master builder number. So it's like the architects of the new earth, the building this new earth energy. So the ghost dance in this deck refers to the Hopis, that they would do the ghost dance to call on their ancestors, to call in for that support. So again, this is coming up in the last reading with that ancient knowing, that ancient wisdom, and calling that back, which is what we get. Wasn't this feels similar to I can't really remember, but I remember there was something with the ancient, but wasn't that, it feels similar. That's cool. But again, you know, going through this door into that quantum space, you're tapping into the timeless wisdom that those that were connected to the earth, that held on despite the fracture, always knew. So we're connecting back with that. But also, I always feel this sort of double message with this card around the ghost dance, and I'm getting chills. So confirmation. Also, this dance that you do over and over and over with something that's dead and gone. You know, it's like, stop resuscitating the horse, you know, stop trying to solve what you think is what appears to be the problem by playing with the problem. It's like the solution is by extracting out into this whole other, again, the window or the door or the lighted room, you know, where there are different answers, where there's a different solution, there's a higher frequency. We're evolving. This is the shift of the ages, and it's either evolve or repeat that dance. But that's de-evolution, right? You're declining. It's death. It's death energy. It's dying. It's a ghost. And so just kind of making that choice and clearing your head. The Page of Swords is sort of that, you know, the clouds are parting where all of a sudden you can see. And I think this is what's going on with the masculine within us and in our world, let's say, in our partners or in the masculines in our family, where it's like they're starting to remember this. You know, they're starting to be like, wait a minute, there's a different way. There's a different way. And again, the way the addictions can be, again, the ghosts, the things that you've always done, the pathways that you've always done, and just being addicted to them. It's like they're loosening, and just this other doorway that is an option, right? Is an option. What are you going to choose? It's up to you. It's up to you where you put your focus, what you're creating. But just knowing that when you choose this door over here, a whole new world opens for you and for all of us. The more people that can do that, the more we align with the truth of reality, this ancient wisdom. We bring the original back. We bring the original back. We're remembering, and we're living it again. Although we're living it with the wisdom and the experience of being lost, having lots of obstacles and having them crash down. It's a return, but wow, it's a different kind of thing if you're always here and it's all versus falling the whole way out and clawing your way back. So it's like me with my marriage, completely losing, because I've always been a channel. I've always had access, and I completely lost it. I still had a spark, I had a spark, but it's like I completely lost it, and I clawed my way back, and there was just so much richness and crawling through the darkness and sniffing your way out, and it's a fractal of what humanity has done. We fell from higher consciousness, where things were unified, into extreme separation and fragmentation, cycle of the ages, coming out of Kali Yuga. We're climbing our way back in this ascension process, coming back into that memory, but crawling out of darkness, so that we know, we know every point along the way. We know the peak, and we know the fall. We know the peak, and we have the fall. We have humility, we have compassion, we have interconnection with all that is, this type of thing. So, all right, let's see what, I'll get 2 cards. I'm going to take both of those. This one is for communion. Yeah. So there it is, that communion with all that is. And that's what I was literally just saying. It's that Mother Mary energy, again, the divine feminine energy that embraces it all. You're not shoving anything out. And so this is coming out underneath the rhino. Well, what are the obstacles? The obstacles are the pieces of ourselves, because it's all, an inside job, the pieces of ourselves that we separated off, like the abandoned parts, the not good enough, those things that were coming up through the triggers that we've been having. Those are the obstacles that we're overcoming, where, you're, something happens that makes you feel like you're not good enough, or makes you feel like you're wrong, or makes you feel you don't belong here, or whatever it is. And you choose to bring that communion with yourself, that soul retrieval, where you bring that part of you back in and you hold it again with the inner masculine energy that's really been highlighted right now, and very much in that last reading with the Emperor and the High Priestess. He has her. You have yourself. You're not abandoning yourself. And the more of us that are doing that, then the less the reflection in the outer world has to be one of that, because again, it's all fractals, right? So in your relationships, it'll, instead of having a reflection of your self-abandonment, it's really interesting, because there's a lot right now that I see of like women, women that are like, they're like, God, they're so clear, and they speak like so impeccably. And there's a lot of awareness and clarity around men, the opposite sex, and what they're doing wrong, and how they're not honoring the feminine. And it's important. It's an important step along the way, because, if you are sort of leaking your energy and feeding into relationships and situations where you're not being appreciated, it's like at a certain point, you got to see it and be like, whoa, I don't deserve this, and you stop it and you pull back your energy. But then the next step is to repair that within yourself. If we're still pointing fingers out there and about the mat, well, they're just a reflection of us. They're just a reflection of our relationship with ourselves, right? So it's like, as we come into communion and overcome that obstacle of self-abandonment with ourselves, then it changes our reflection in the outer polarity in our lives, the man or the woman, right? That's in our lives, and what they're reflecting to us. They start to reflect. We start to pull in, and sometimes even with the same person, like me with my ex, the same exact person that was your reflection of your self-hatred becomes one of your greatest allies, because you've changed your relationship to yourself. Same thing in your community, how your community receives you. Same thing in the world, right? So we're changing the reflection within ourselves, changing it within our relationships, our communities, and the world. And enough people doing that, it's like every person is the one. Every person is the savior, but you're saving yourself. You're saving yourself, and you're rippling it out so that there's a different frequency going on in the world. And that's actually what's happening. That's what's happening. It's also what the solar energy is helping us with, because it's kicking up this kind of stuff so that we can come into union with ourselves. And as we come into union with ourselves, not only are we coming into union with those around us, because we're not projecting our unprocessed shadow onto them or onto the world, we're communing. We're with our divinity. We're able to connect with like I was talking about in the last reading, with the galactics and with the elementals and with the invisible realms as well. Everything starts to open up because you gain access into the truth of reality, which is oneness, communion, unity, everything coming back in. Let's see what this card is. Divine intelligence. Yeah. Divine intelligence coming out underneath the tower. So this is a very beautiful message. Here is the book that's written. It's written. There's a cosmic order. There's a symphony of all these parts that are playing out in perfect harmony and perfect notes for the situation, for the exact configuration of what's going on in this organic moment, in any moment in time. There's a correct response, because it's God consciousness, the intelligence, the infinite intelligence of God consciousness, of the truth, the true harmonics of this realm and beyond. Right? It's that deep. So there's that message. And again, that confirmation around the perfection of the towers and the things that are going on. There's a bigger picture. There's a bigger order in the seeming chaos. Again, that community and that unity and that oneness. So we're getting now we're in this window. now we're in this window over here. This is what you start to see when you go into that window, right? You rise into that higher consciousness. You start to see through God's eye. You start to trust the process. You start to relax. You start to commune with yourself and take action on that guidance. You get that God fractal of your feminine and your masculine coming together, which is so I was talking about that with Facebook, how it's always, so there are always these perfect posts that perfectly match the energy. It's like uncanny, again, you're in that room, when you're leaning into that quantum room, there's just synchronicities. It's like, the true tracking of time is through the convergence of points, where it's showing you who you are and what your reflection is. So I posted something this morning around that, the masculine and the feminine united, being that creational force, which is what I talk about all the time, right? What we all talk about all the time, if we're really tuning in. I was so hot, and I thought I had to take off like a whole shirt, but I don't. I can take off this sweater. Okay, so let's move on here. I lost my train of thought. Creational energy, turning towards ourself. Yeah, that quantum space, right? Because the whole split, the whole fracture in our realm was the fracture of polarities into separate pieces, the masculine and the feminine, spirit and matter. And when we bring them back into harmony, then we have our power back, because we're whole again, right? We're whole again, and we can see through. And everything in our world causes us to go into fear, into fracture again, into point fingers. And it's like, if it's out there, it's in you. If it's out there, it's in you. So find it in you. And once you correct it and clear it in you, then it'll look different out there, because you're different, right? It's how we change our world. I know a lot of us know this. That's why I'm kind of surprised that this message is coming out. But I do feel there's a lot of this kind of energy in our world right now, and in our collective. So I guess it just wants to be said. So, okay. All right. Oh, wow. Thunder. Okay. So I love this card. First of all, it's an 11, 5 and 6, adding up to 11. I don't collapse it to a 2, because 11's 11. It's a portal number. The thunder and the buffaloes, and look at the buffaloes. And so the buffaloes just like roaring across the plain. There's this energy of like, nothing can stop this. And what is this? But is the communion, the unification, the divine intelligence, the higher plan, the symphony, the organic symphony, the truth of reality that we can tune into and ride. It's a current, it's an activation, it's a movement, it's an inevitability, it's a singularity. Thunder, it's like there's the lightning, and then the clapping together. It's physics, right? It's physics, it's cosmic law. It comes together. There's a loud boom and everybody hears it. And that's this as well, you know, where it's like it's time, it's being seen, it's being heard. But the inevitability is that higher plan. Again, the 11 being that portal, walking through that portal into that other room. This coming out beneath the 4 of Pentacles, which is that sort of pull back your energy and take care of yourself, because this is very strong activating energy. It's like the and again, a lot of us felt to pull back our energy before this solar wave came in. But the solar wave is sort of like the herd of buffalo, you know, that's running through and it's shaking the ground and, you know, shaking your cells and shaking those patterns off of you. And it's like you just kind of gotta like close your eyes and like let it happen. Let it move through you, let it take you, let it transform you. And again, that surrendering to the higher plan, surrendering to what's happening in this realm, because there's it's inevitable, you know. But also the buffalo is abundance, you know. You can get everything from the buffalo. In the oracle deck that I have, it's the abundant universe will provide, you know, and that is the symbolism of the buffalo, because you can use every part. And the buffalo often also is very generous and gives of itself, you know, and sustained entire cultures. And so there's so much woven into the buffalo, right? So there's this huge message of trusting, of singularity, of activation, of the wave and riding the wave, the inevitability, and also the symbol of abundance. What's coming is abundant. And so that's what we were talking about in the last reading as well, where we were talking about a lot of the survival issues that a lot of us were having come up. And yet that sort of through that door, that inner knowing, that feeling into this like our birthright, right? When we're aligned with our divinity and we surrender the self-abandonments and we come back into the truth of reality and true alignment, and we're acting off of our intuition, we have our masculine and our feminine intact, we're taking action because we're taking time, pulling back our energy, taking time to hear, we're taking action on that, we're guided in the way that we need to be. So again, that sort of like what help me be in the right place at the right time. Help me meet the right person, the right connections, the right video, the right thoughts, the right rest, the right whatever at the right time. You're in that flow of your own powerful divinity and your own powerful path and the wisdom of it. You're not fighting it. You're not siphoning off energy, right? You're surrendering. There's a surrender, but there's a healing in that surrender. There's a healing in that. And so, and this alignment as well. Look at this. It's the alignment. And as you can see a little bit of this white flooding through when you align with your higher, it starts to trickle down and guide you until it becomes a fountain, a waterfall in your life, like a herd of buffalo, and in that is the abundance, right? So knowing that it is your birthright when you're living your divinity, when you're living in alignment with all that is, it's your birthright to receive and to have abundance, just like it's the cucumber's birthright, right? It has those seeds in it. We have those seeds in us too, but we have to be watering the right seeds. What seeds are we watering? What are we tending to? Are we tending to the false program that wants to keep us in lack and limitation and fear and control and hatred and division? Or are we watering the seeds of communion, true communion with all that is, and the divine intelligence, and trusting in that intelligence, and leaning into the singularity that we discover when we surrender fear, when we surrender doubt, when we surrender control. So again, it's that thing of like taking your hands off the wheel. It's like taking your hands off the wheel, going 90 miles per hour down the road. It feels really terrifying, but quickly you'll see and feel this support flooding in, the support of your birthright on this realm. But we have to live in alignment with it in the true way, which means we have to let go of a lot. We have to let go of a lot, and we have to be graceful with what's leaving and with what, you know, it's not, we had all these ideas based on what society told us was true and what we needed to be successful or worthy or whatever, and so we've built whole lives and lifestyles and community, an entire society around that. Allowing that to crumble is how we get our divinity back. It's how we get that divine intelligence, not societal programmed, fear-based, divisive programming intelligence, artificial intelligence, false intelligence, right? it's divine. We're getting the divine intelligence back, but we have to let the old crumble, and we have to be bold and fearless and tearing it down, speaking it, offending people, offending ourselves, losing things, being broke for a while, being homeless for a while, whatever it takes to get into alignment. That kind of energy. But again, with the buffalo, it's it's that powerful. It's that powerful. The frequencies that are coming onto this planet and the energy that we're feeling rising within us, the energies is pushing off the addictions, both to substances and to ways of living and thinking and feeling. It's a purification. It's a tsunami. It's strong. It's strong. And it's like, you can't really fight it. And the more you fight it, the more you're going to suffer, and the more your body's going to suffer, the more your health is going to suffer, because again, we're being asked to evolve. And if we're not evolving, we're dying, we're declining, we're going in the opposite direction of evolution. Survival of the fittest. It's harsh, but that's the energy. So King of Coins is very much about manifesting. I don't really like that word, but it does fit, so I'll use it. Manifesting on the earth plane, having your realm, right? Tending to your realm. So we have the Four of Pentacles and the King of Pentacles. Here's the earth plane. The King of Pentacles coming out underneath the Seven of Cups. So there's that. What are you choosing? What are you creating in your realm? What are you surrounding yourself with? What are you choosing? What are you choosing to give your attention to? Who are you choosing to give your attention to? How long are you choosing to give your attention to that person or that energy, right? And commanding your reality. Commanding your reality, being responsible to set those boundaries for yourself and with the outer world and with those around you, so that you can see the results of your choices and of your focus in the realm around you, and in a way where life really supports you. So while the outer world is on fire and getting crazy, you're tending to your own sanctuary. You're creating a sanctuary for yourself so that you can thrive, so that you can hear. You're not hiding away. You're creating a container where that your nervous system isn't spinning out, and you're not playing out, again, the programming of fear and reaction. You're allowing space for your divinity to come in to guide you, to put you in the mindset where you can hear the truth, where you can receive guidance towards the truth. And you can start to expand your consciousness in a way that ripples out and expands the adds to the expansion of consciousness for humanity. And it's interesting because some people will say like, oh, I never really think about collective energies. And as we expand our consciousness, we have our individual self and our individual lives, and then our families, and then our communities. And then it's like when your consciousness expands enough, again, into that communion, where then you feel a oneness with the entire collective, right? Then you might start to feel a oneness with the Fae realm, with the invisible realm, with the elementals, with the devas, or the energies behind the processes in our body, or behind the processes of the plants, the physical form, right? You start to feel behind, or you start to feel with the galactics and with beyond and with the cosmic energies. You start to attune to the energies in the solar, and everything is really big and interconnected. And then at that point, it is like Scooby-Doo, because then you're able to decode everything. You see fractals, the same energy here as here and here and here, and you see that it's all interconnected, right? There's that divine intelligence that you tap into as you turn towards and expand your consciousness, and then you start to create with others that heaven on earth energy, where it's all reflections of the same thing, right? You see yourself, you see the patterns, you see the collective movements, you see what we're doing. And so it's like we have a certain energy that we're working in based on, say, we get a bunch of flares, and then it kicks up all our stuff, and then we're dealing with our stuff in whatever way we are, whether we're reacting or whether we're aligning with that quantum, okay? And then everybody makes their decision, and then all of a sudden things settle, and then you have a different set of energetics, and it's like we can read those as they change. We can read how it's changed, and what sort of the result, what patterns are showing up now, like where are we at now, what's the collective consciousness working on in the different ways that it can, right? And then as we focus on that and we become aware of that and we work with that consciously, then we change it again, right? So there's that expansion and there's that evolution, and it just keeps going and going and going. And that's where the fun is, through that other door where you're on the cutting edge and you're helping to create it and observe it and decode it and anchor it while you decode it. When you're in a video like this where we're communing in consciousness, you might be getting channels as we're speaking. We're probably in the same channel. I'm not always able to find the words. You might be finding the words for yourself. Some people share those things that they come to, and then we put it together even more. It's like you bring this, I bring this, we put it together, and then whoa, we realize this, and then we go off in our separate corner. It's reaction, it's chemistry, right? And we're creating reactions, and then they ripple out, and then you take this thing that we created together, and then you are with somebody else, and then you two expand it even more, and then it becomes this whole other thing, and then that adds, right? It's so exciting, It's like, why do we need to distract ourselves, or why do we need we're creating, we're evolving, we're stars expanding, Okay, so I have I'm going to do 2 more cards and then I will end this reading because it's getting up there. Deep quiet meditation and stillness. So another message of that inner listening, and that's coming out underneath the Page of Swords, which is that sort of new idea, quantum space, where you're like, whoa, like you're seeing things. And if this is you, because I know there are a lot of different kinds of people that listen to this reading. So I don't try. It just seems like I talk on a lot of different levels, and I think that's why. But if you are somebody that's been really entrenched in sort of the program, and you're starting to meditate or take time, and you're starting to have these other thoughts, it's like you can feel kind of crazy for a little while. We talk about this a lot, where you're starting to have these other ideas that are just in a completely different arena, where you think well, that's Pollyanna, or that's too good to be true, or I'm crazy and I'm gonna get myself sick. But this is the type of energy that heals your body. This is the type of energy that creates new inventions, that solves problems on a different level, right? So just trusting that, just a little reminder to trust this space, because again, it's the evolutionary trend. You're in the right direction if you're tapping into this and making time for that, making time for that, because that's what came through in that last reading as well. Making time for that, because there's a lot of information that's possible to come through. There's a lot of coding and information in our atmosphere that's constantly being kicked in through the sun, especially right now at this time. I think that's why that was coming up in that last reading, because we were going to be inundated with this new information, right? Through the solar energy. So knowing that we're integrating that now. Here's another 11. So again, we have a 22 master builder number, and 5 for change, and then 11. 211. So that portal energy, moving through a portal, we're able to jump and leap in these energies because there's new information again, right? And again, it just keeps expanding and expanding. That we merge, we connect with what we were saying about each other. We connect with this energy, and then we have a reaction, and it expands us even more, and it just keeps going, right? So it's really exciting. It's really exciting right now. But again, choosing to focus on that, and that's the encouragement. That's what's coming through in this reading. Choosing to focus on this new door, this new information that's all around us, and just allowing the old to crumble, because there's something new rising in its place. And when we're out of fixating on this and the fall of the I know a lot of you know this, but the fall, then we're able to receive in the quietness the new direction. The new direction. Okay, so I'm going to do one last card. What deck am I going to do? I'm going to do this one here. I really like these shaman decks. Okay, see what we get. Probably last coyote. Yeah, didn't I mention him? It's like, and it's not always gonna look. And there's the 12, and that's that Christed energy, that the Christ. Oh my God, that's the other thing. Wow, this is right at the end of this reading here. So I've been having all this stuff it's been a few weeks now where, and this involves my Scooby-Doo sister as well. So I've been having all this stuff with Jesus, where it's like I keep having these phrases of Jesus coming to my mind, and I'm not I was raised Catholic. I didn't like Jesus because I was told if I didn't believe in Jesus, I was going to go to hell, and I was just like, fuck that guy. I have a channel. I talk to God all day long, all the time. What do I need this guy for? He just seemed like a and there is that manipulation in there, and I caught it. But at the same time, later on, many years later, decades later, when I was doing energy work, I started feeling the energetic signature of, there would be an image of Jesus, and the energetic signature was the same energetic signature that I felt my entire life, and from Catholic school on. So it was like, oh, this Jesus, the energy, the energetic signature of this Christic consciousness, this character has been with me my whole life, right? So now it's like I'm familiar with the energetic signature, that consciousness, the 12 strand DNA, the however you want to say it, the Christic, our Christ itself, right? Our Christ itself, my aspect. But there have been a lot of like little Jesus phrases going on. And so my friend was saying this, she started bringing me Jesus phrases, and she was like, oh, Jesus is here now. And I'm like, yeah, he's been here for me too, and there's been more since then. I had another one today, it's just like, oh my gosh, this Jesus energy. So there's that divine masculine energy as well, that divine masculine energy, and that Christ consciousness that's coming through. So that's this as well, that, not in a religious sense. I just told you my version of fuck Jesus, but it's like that Christed energy, that Christic energy. And that's what we're accessing through that door. That's what we're tuning to. That's what we're pulling through. So there's that 12, just kind of indicating that energy. And the coyote, where it doesn't always, like, what's playing out and how we're what we're seeing in our realms, and how we're anchored, and of course this, what we're anchoring down isn't always gonna look. It's like me with the December 21st, 2012, where it was like, this is the shift of the ages, and I lose custody of my kids, and it's like, wait, that's not how I thought it was gonna go. It was like major coyote medicine, but it was exactly what needed to happen. And it's like, it's not gonna look pretty. It's not gonna look, it might not look pretty. It's probably not gonna look pretty. A lot of things aren't gonna look pretty, but it's gonna be, it knows what it's doing. Again, that divine intelligence and the perfection of the plan, the higher plan, God's plan, words. There's so many associations with words. Cosmic intelligence, the truth of this realm, however you want to say it, spirit, creator. It can look a little funny. And again, we have to untie knots. So sometimes you have to go backwards, and sometimes there's loss, and there's all these things, but it's getting us into position to receive, and it's unstoppable, and it's inevitable. But that abundance is also inevitable. That abundance is also inevitable, and pulling back your energy to be able to receive that and attune to that. So, okay, I am going to stop there. Yeah, that feels like a powerful, clear message, and it really it really felt like it had a life of its own there. I was just watching it. Sometimes I have a lot of downloads and a lot of clarity, and the cards are reflecting what is in me that wants to be said, and sometimes it brings through something different. And today was one of those times. So trusting that, and trusting that this will reach the right people at the right time. Again, the right people at the right time. So thank you for being here, and for joining in consciousness, and for everything that you do inside of yourself, and that being the key. So much love to you all, and I'll see you next time if I do. Okay.